Welcome, my friends, to Happy Brain, Happy Life. My name is Dr. Myrelis Aponte, Dr. Mimi for many of you. I'm a neuropsychologist and brain health expert, and my goal is to teach you different ways, give you information so that you can think, feel, and act even better because you're starting with your brain in mind. So many times we just go through life thinking that our feelings and our thoughts and our actions are completely outside of this particular body. But no, it all starts in your brain, and we can make significant changes to improve our quality of life just by starting with our brain health and then moving forward to feelings and thoughts and actions. So, we are starting a series called Nurturing a Healthy Brain. And my goal for the next couple of shows is to go a little bit deeper into each of the areas that I consider, with almost 20 years of experience in brain health, that are the key elements that you are able to sustain and understand so that you can make changes in your life every single day, just in small steps. There's no need to do drastic changes. The more you incorporate consistently and persistently new positive changes, the more you will eliminate the negative things that you've been doing up until now that have not been favorable to your brain. So let's get started. My goal is this week to talk to you about the importance of physical exercise and movement. Now, I call it physical exercise or physical activity and movement because people are always considering exercise or pair up exercise with a gym. And I want you to get rid of that immediately. Having physical activity does not mean that I want you going to the gym for an hour every day, and doing extensive exercise for your brain. It is good for your body, certainly, and we have learned how good it can be for our muscles and our body to be in great shape. But I'm going to tell you a little trick. It does not take an hour for our brain to be healthy and for our bodies to be fit. It actually takes less time with the right opportunity and right exercises. But let's start with something. Why is physical exercise and movement important for the brain? We're going to go a little bit deeper into this today, but understand that it can help promote your brain health by increasing your blood flow to the brain, which is extremely important because we have significant blood vessels that help move around, right? Oxygenate our brain, but also kind of balance out the neurochemicals in our brain that help us think, feel, and act. So that means pay attention, have concentration, be able to remember things, be able to actually code information out, be able to decode information and bring it right and recall it easier and faster. So that is part of why blood flow is so important to the brain. That's why right before any kind of test or activity or important meeting, you should move around for a couple of minutes to oxygenate your brain. Now, it also stimulates the growth of new brain cells. And what this means is that it creates new connections to the brain, especially if we are doing, weights, even if it's light weights. I always have, and I've shown you before, I have like a 2-pound ball. It's a little bit too far from me right now, so I won't reach for it. But I have a 2-pound ball that sometimes while I'm working, I'll keep it like on me and continue to move, because as soon as you add the need for, strength and for your muscles to have activity, you're immediately activating the cortex, right? And so your cortex now is active and functional and focusing. So using strength training is certainly positive for your brain, but we'll talk a little bit more about this. And so don't think about creating new brain cells, but really creating new brain cell connection. And what this means is more connection among our neurons, which will make, if you think about, I love trying to compare, right, our thoughts. So think about having a net, right, that you throw out to fish. Well, that net, those threads are interconnected one with the other, right? And that's what makes you be able to grab more fish together. Same thing happens in terms of our brain. The more interconnection among our neurons, the more capability that you have to recall things faster, to execute a movement faster, to execute any kind of activity, attention, concentration, memory, physical activity. You're able to perform it faster and better. And who doesn't want something better, right? So in addition, it does improve your cognitive function. So as we're having physical activity, that interconnection of neurons just allow your whole cortex to interconnect their let's say their information channels. Let's put it that way. I like thinking of simple words, right? I could say it in very scientific terms, but I don't think that's why happy brain, happy life exists. So think of, the ability to communicate better, right? The more exercise we do, the more our neurons connect together, the better it informs one side of the other. We have two hemispheres. We've talked about that. They're connected in the middle through an area called the corpus callosum, and the corpus callosum needs to interact with neurons on both sides of our brain. So exercise allows us to interconnect our neurons from one side of the brain to the other. So let's start with a couple of, I have about 7 points I want to talk to you about today in this about 20 minutes. So let me get right into it. Why do we improve cognitive function with activity, right? With exercise or with physical activity. Remember, whenever I use the word exercise, I don't want you to think of going to the gym. I want you to think of physical activity that you are going to be incorporating into your life. So one of the things that I want you to understand is that it does, and research shows, that it enhances cognitive abilities. And that is going to include attention, memory, problem-solving skills. If you are a business owner and you have a problem to solve, a situation to solve, and who doesn't, right? Every single day. So if you do, then do some kind of physical activity before you go into a meeting, before you go into, a problem came up, go ahead and stop for a second and go move around, go take a walk. Like me, I use that 2-pound ball and I kind of start moving around to activate my cortex. And that allows me to be more focused. And it doesn't have to be for a long time. I say you manage time, you administrate your time in the best way possible, but understand that maybe 5 minutes of moving around and focusing, right? Focusing your body on physical activity might result you in 2 to 4 hours of attention, concentration, and better problem solving skills. So those 5 minutes are so worth it. That is why it is so important. So research actually suggests that physical activity stimulates the production of neurochemicals, and such as, and there are some neurochemicals that are called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, right? And this promotes the growth and survival of neurons, but it's leading to improved cognitive function. So this is a simple way. It does not cost anything. You can go take a walk outside. You can go move around your house. You can go, I love it because I have a farm. So I go and take care of the horses and kind of move around. And sometimes maybe I'm moving heavy stuff around and it just makes me lift, right? Weight, and it just starts activating my brain and makes me feel significantly better. So I encourage you to start incorporating moving around to improve your cognitive functions. And you're going to see how different you start thinking. The negativity thoughts, the negative thoughts, the automatic negative thoughts start diminishing because your brain is able to focus on some physical activity, starts oxygenating the brain, starts relieving and releasing the adequate neurochemicals that help you think better. But also, and this is one of my favorite, it improves and enhances mood and reduces stress. Two key factors to us having a happier life, correct? When we want a happier life, we want a better mood and we want to make sure that we have less stress. Unfortunately, we live lives that are consistent, on the ongoing. Just recently, this week we had a very hard week. We had one of our mayors be very sick of colic, and it produced a lot of stress on us because we love her so much. So it's like losing, a kid. Kind of, and it produced a lot of stress on us. And I remember that day, we had to even take her to the hospital. And one of the things that happened was, at that same day, I had leadership camp, youth leadership camp, right? So with girls from 10 to 17-year-olds. And I was saying, how do I get myself, right? How do I get my brain into a state where I can focus, where I can, be the best for these girls today in the middle of a hard, difficult time that's got my mood down, that's got me extremely stressed. And one of the things we did was start dancing in the barn. And we put music on, and the girls started doing all kinds of songs that have choreography with them. And we just started doing the slide and this and that. And it just immediately changed my mood so I could be so present with them. And so it just changes your mood immediately. So exercise is a positive impact to your mental health. It's the best medicine, if I could call it that, is the best medicine for anxiety, for depression, for any kind of mood symptoms. It will promote a sense of well-being. Physical activity really stimulates and releases the key neurotransmitter endorphins, which are the feeling good hormones, if we could call it that. And so it leads to improved mood and just reduced stress. So try it out. I tell you, try it out. I love dancing. So for me, it was like an automatic, natural moment that came out, but it was the best opportunity I had to recall my cognitive function so I could be present, but also to improve my mood and reduce my stress at that moment. So I encourage you, try it out. Now, it also increases neuroplasticity. What is neuroplasticity? This is the ability to reorganize and form new neural connections throughout life. And that means you're able to learn something new every time in your life. You learn a new ability, your body is able to do something new, something. Have you ever seen somebody, I don't know, later in life, in their 50s, in their 60s, even in their 70s, when they all of a sudden have taken into physical activity and now they look like 10, 15 years younger, 20 years younger, because physical activity allows our neuroplasticity to just expand, our ability to learn, our ability for our neurons to connect. So it doesn't necessarily only have to be abilities that have to do with our physical body, but physical activity will allow us to take on new tasks, take on new abilities, a new project, right? A new skill that you've never tried before, because it's allowing our brain plasticity, right, to expand. And so it helps our brain just adapt and learn more efficiently. Now, it also protects our brain against age-related cognitive decline. Now, cognitive decline, let me tell you this, it's not normal. Cognitive decline shouldn't happen. However, our lifestyles and the way, we live, unfortunately, kind of produces a traditional or a typical observation of decline, you know, in the later days in life, if we could call it that. But really, cognitive decline shouldn't be happening if we have a healthy brain. And that's the whole point. We see a lot of cognitive decline related to age, but it's because we don't pay attention to brain health. And say there are significant studies that have demonstrated that engaging in regular physical activity can help protect age-related cognitive decline and reduce the risk of neurodegenerative diseases, such as Alzheimer's disease and dementias. So exercise promotes the blood flow to the brain, but it also stimulates that growth of neurons, and it'll improve the resilience to damage and to aging, which is why exercising it is so important. My mom is 82, almost 82 years old. She'll be 82 soon. And one of the things that she participates on is in a group. She lives in Puerto Rico. So it's called like the hot legs, right? Patitas calientes, the hot legs. And what they do is, you know, 3 times a week, they get different types of exercises, not only physical, but also to improve their brain health. And it's key to keeping them focused and reducing the decline of their cognitive abilities. Now, also, we got a couple more before we go today, but one is improved sleep quality. I cannot tell you more about how important it is for me. It is detrimental if I don't eat or sleep. I mean, those two can certainly affect my mood immediately. I get all grumpy, grouchy, all over the place. So I pay attention to that and I take care of myself in terms of sleep. So exercise has that positive impact on sleep quality and duration, which plays a vital role in that brain health. Okay. And so regular activity is really gonna improve, you know, it's important to improve those sleep patterns because it leads to cognitive function, it leads to your mood, it leads to your overall brain health. Now, there are certainly different perceptions of sleep. And when people are at a later age, they always say, oh, I sleep less. But what is important is that you get quality sleep. And what I mean with that is that adults should get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Some of you will tell me, no, I only sleep 4 or 5 hours. I only sleep 6 hours. And I'm going to tell you, your body is going to ask you later for those hours and you will not be able to give them back. So make sure everybody that is successful, and this, my mentor and coach Paul Martinelli has shown me the best example is that he always goes to bed exactly at the same time, and he'll schedule everything in his life around him exactly on that form and that role. So he's very efficient about the sleep quality that he gets, because there is no way of being efficient if you are not getting quality sleep. There is no sense in depriving yourself from sleep, but still pretending to have available and good cognitive function, good thinking, good problem solving, effective. So, and this has been proven to be real for even the medical field, where, you know, they've spent 24 hours on a watch overnight, and their thinking skills are not best. Their decision making is not best because they keep on staying up and they're depriving their bodies from sleep and quality sleep. So make sure that you are taking care of that. And we will have, within this Nurturing Your Health, we will have one episode that is focused on sleep. Now, it also does, it reduces chronic diseases. Now, this is important because almost every chronic disease is related to a mental health issue. It's a comorbidity between the two. So we need to pay attention. If you have any cardiac conditions, any diabetes, thyroid disease, anything that is a chronic condition will be very highly tied to a mental health condition, because it does deprive your life from many possibilities of some activities, right? Or physical activities. So I want you to pay close attention to what kind of activities you're able to start with or do so that we decrease the risk of those conditions. Now, if you're somebody who has none of these conditions, the best thing is to start your physical activity now so that you prevent those from, overcoming your life and certainly your mental health. But in addition, if you do have cardiovascular disease, diabetes, even obesity, it is important for you to start incorporating physical activity now, not tomorrow, but today. So think about even 10 minutes that you're going to invest today in moving with intention so that your brain starts understanding we are going to make some changes and you will feel better. And so it does make an improvement in any of those chronic diseases, and it reduces incredibly the possibility of mental health issues showing up, even if you have those chronic diseases. And last but not least today, prevention of cognitive decline and dementia is, it's the long-term engagement for us in terms of our regular physical activity. I mentioned it a little bit before, but for me right now is to include to you that it will improve the conditions, if you're able to keep yourself physically active. Now, a lot of people tell me, oh, yes, but what if it's somebody that cannot move or cannot stand, or maybe there's somebody that's already, in a physical state? Listen, even this past week, I bought my mom one of those pedaling bikes that you can do sitting down. There is a lot of and plenty of physical movements that you're able to do even while sitting down. I just want you to encourage to start some kind of movement with intention, because a lot of people tell me, but I move around at work all the time. I move from here to there. I'm always standing. I'm always moving around. I don't lose the weight. Yes, but that's because your body is already used to that particular routine. I want you to be more conscious about the changes that you're making and what you're incorporating consciously. For example, using one of those 2-pound balls while sitting down and maybe moving them from your lap to up to your chest and down, or maybe sideways, right? Or maybe even up and down. That already is incorporating muscle movement, and the muscle movement is going to cause your brain to activate. Even putting that ball in between your feet and just lifting your feet up a little bit, right? So that you have some kind of weight. There are plenty of opportunities for us to incorporate physical activity. It should not be an excuse. It should be a reason why we want to have a happier life, right? With a happier brain. And so think today, this is how I'm going to close it up. Think today, what can I incorporate? What time of the day can I incorporate? Maybe several times in the day, you can incorporate 5 minutes of good physical activity. What kind of activity might I incorporate in my life? Maybe before a meeting, maybe before a test, maybe you're still studying, maybe you're in graduate school, maybe you're doing a certification or doing some kind of program you need to pay attention. Maybe you handle a large group of employees and you want to be attentive to when you're meeting with them and talking to them. What kind of activity you're able to incorporate that works for you, but that does bring up your heart rate or brings up some kind of muscle movement to activate your brain and be conscious about your brain health. I hope that today's information has been useful. And so if it has, let me know. I would love to know if you are using any of this. Let me know if any of these strategies work for you and any of this information has been useful. Remember, there is my free guide to managing stress. It actually incorporates some of the information that we have talked about today, and you can find that in the link. But you also can reach my book, Happy Brain, Happy Life, on Amazon.com. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to continuing this series of nurturing your brain on the next few episodes. See you soon.